Nice.
I'm joined for this hobby hang. It's an Embers hobby hang. I'm joined by Warforge. He won for
Yo.
his YouTube channel.
Thank you.
What do you got going on your hobby desk today, Warforge? You're prepping for Apocalypticon, was it?
Yep. It is a very special night. It is the night before Apocalypticon.
Oh,
Apocalypticon is a the crunch is real. Apocalypticon is a massive apocalypse event in my area. There are pictures around of one board having, for example, an Imperator Titan, which has its own special rules because you don't attack the Titan as a whole, you have to attack its limbs because every limb has a stat line. I digress. I will be probably on a more not industrial but more urban board because Nightlords like to haunt the walls and live in the walls and such. Currently, right now, I'm trying to finish off 4 Mastodon tanks. I'm already like 3/4 of the way through. All I'm doing now is, just painting out these turrets and then finishing off, say, the melter arrays on the front of the Mastodons, as well as just a little bit of tidying up here and there. Once I've done that, I've got to finish Conrad Kurz, which he is done as the model. It's just the base that needs doing. And then I have a Flying Demon Prince I kit bashed, which I call the Avatar of Nox. Here we go. And, like I say, I just need to finish this guy off as well. So that's going to be interesting.
Looking cool. A conversion, as per usual, I assume?
Yep, absolutely. From Demon Prince kit, I kit bashed him to use the zombie dragon head as like a helmet in of itself. I drilled out his eyes because I wanted him to be eyeless. I had a bit of green stuff piping here and there, and used a bit of Ossiarch Bone Reaper's bit for like slanted armor, as per the 8th. I just thought it looked quite in that Dark Souls aesthetic that I want. And like I say, with demon drawings and all that, when it doesn't look obviously like Slaanesh and Nurgle, I'm sure it fits in. But yeah, he's probably going to take the most time to do.
Gotcha.
Because, yeah.
Sounds like we both have our projects to do. I'm actually not working on anything as exciting. Just working on chipping away on these Stormcast. With Oromite EX in the chat saying everyone hyped for intercessors with a new hat. It's a big deal, I guess. For some, you could have changed the hats yourself, you know. I don't know if people are.
Already did for mine.
Of course, right?
Yes.
As you should. Get some variety into your army, right? Put your spin on it. That's dare I say, part of the hobby. It's such a bold
Indeed.
claim. Such a bold claim.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The only thing I'm happy about is that they've brought back the Darth Vader Vox grills again. That's to me Space Marine, but that's just me.
It is. I don't hate it. The Mark 10 helmet is very much a spin on the Mark 4 helmet.
Yeah.
Which I guess you just wanted to kind of rebrand for Primaris, which is fine. I don't hate the Mark 4 style grill, but it is much more iconic. You are correct.
Yeah.
The classic box grill. Very angry, very aggressive, right? Feels more on theme for a grim, dark setting where these are your heroes in quotations, right? This kind of idea.
Yeah. Absolutely.
People seem to have forgotten that we could always swap helmets. True. I tossed out a poll and a prompt, or the poll is the prompt. It's just not a topic for a conversation for you and I work for necessarily, though. I'm not opposed to it. It's just, does Kill Team make a good foundation for narrative campaigns? Because I feel as though you could take a Mordheim campaign structure and slap it onto Kill Team and have something kind of interesting.
Yeah. I guess that's like, when it comes to Kill Team, that's what I want out of a skirmish game for 40k. I want more time in space.
More time in outer space? What do you mean?
As in, like, in terms of like rules and gameplay mechanics, I want the customization abilities that
Yes,
more time
that's
provide.
lacking. That's 100% lacking
Yeah.
in Kill Team. Kill Team is very much a modern GW system, right? Where it's a you play what's
Yeah.
in the box. And
Indeed.
so you'd have to.
Yeah, like it is one of those ones because of how they've structured it. 'Cause it does sometimes feel like if they've got a spare kit that they need to release, but they can't release it in time with like the main faction release, they'll just shove it in Kill Team. So it kind of feels like all the units are afterthoughts. Ta-da! It's a new Kill Team unit, and I'm just sat there going like, really? You could do so much with Kill Team and such. For me, it's like I can only be lucky that when they're thrown the when they're thrown the ideas in the hat, they gave me two perfect kill teams for me, which is the Murder Wing and the Nemesis Claw. But then again, like I'm very like I acknowledge very much that I am very lucky in that regard. I can only imagine like people like Emperor's Children players going, or say like other players like or Tyranids players.
Yeah.
Waiting for like a decent release from them, yeah.
Like you have the Raveners in Kill Team, which is cool, but it's so specific, right?
Yes.
I know this is a kind of crazy thing to claim for Tyranids, perhaps to consider, but for my Tyranids, I do have a sense of your dudes. You know, I want to play my Hive Fleet, right? And if my Hive Fleet isn't big into Raveners, then
yeah,
you know, and that happens to be the case. I don't have a huge allure for like, oh, I want to get the Ravener kill team. So awesome! I've been waiting for this, right? There's no sense of this is for my army. Yeah, you could, you know, I'm sure I'm in the minority of Tyranid players in that regard. I feel like most Tyranid players are pretty flexible in their high fleet position, but I think all factions are more interesting when they specialize.
Yeah.
Or Mighty X says, I have fingers crossed for Nids in 11th edition. Dude, Nids in 11th edition are going to be so good. If not for the only reason that they're so bad right now. It tends to be the case, right? It just tends to be the case. Like, that's kind of the rhythm of GW's drum. Things that are bad and undesirable suddenly become like, holy crap, gotta have it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, you know, the Adepticon reveals was very... I was watching it alongside a load of Guard players. Guard players are very happy. I looked at the... I like the half-track, and I like the new Commissar model with the half-track special iconography and such. That's nice. I see the new Jeep 6-wheeler Jeep, and I saw the turret, and my instant thought was, the wheels on the Dawn go round and round, round and round. And I'm just sat there going like, you just put a Dawn turret on some wheels.
Yeah, I don't like the pretty blatant cut and paste or copy and paste. I mean, I know STC constructs are a thing, so it's not the craziest idea, right? To have this kind of machine being built in setting, but it is pretty obvious from an out of world point of view. You're like, oh, that's just a reused asset, a reused CAD asset or 3D asset.
Yeah.
For this kit, it's not the most exciting. I do like that style of vehicle. It does appeal to me, but dude, there was like so much Guard stuff in Adepticon. Kind of surprising, honestly.
Yeah.
And I was kind of clowning on my Guard buddy a little bit, but honestly, I'd rather have an overabundance of Guard stuff than Space Marine stuff. I think that is probably better, like, on the whole.
Yes. I agree. I'm happy to see Guard players get some love. Like, I know Guard players have been asking for, like, a wheeled transport for God knows how long. So I'm happy to see, like, they've got what they want. I just, like, for me, for personal preference perspective, I look at that and I'm like, I can't take it seriously. If I grab anything like that, I am going straight to the STLs for a new turret.
Yep. I think a repulsor turret I think the repulsor turret. I'm just gonna assume the repulsor's turret, not the executioner, the first one, is smaller
Yeah.
than the Dorn's turret, and I wonder if that would just look cooler. I don't know. You have lots of
It
options,
might,
though,
it might.
old vehicles and new vehicles to mix and match.
Yeah.
So it's not the most complicated thing to adapt one for the other.
Yeah. I'm sure, like, for me, it's like, I'm sure someone will, like, make a modular Chimera or Lehman Russ turret for it. And it might look a bit better instead. That's just me. But yeah, no, like I say, the guard stuff's nice. I love the Red Terror. I'm so glad the Red Terror's back.
It looks great.
That gave me smiles.
It looks great. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's a good win. And you know what? It's much bigger than I thought it would be. And I don't hate it. I think it's a cool reimagining. It works.
Yeah. Like, to me, the way I see it is that it's evolved. Like, the old models still exist canonically, but it's evolved now, as all Tyranids do. It has gotten bigger to be more in line with its Trigon counterparts now than Ravenous.
It's
because
better
it's
suited.
evolved.
It's better suited to be a bigger creature. You know what I mean? Like, I don't love I don't need another parasite of Mortrex, but this one digs. You know what I mean? This
Yeah.
creepy thing that lurks around. It's the same kind of concept, but one has wings and one digs underground. Like, I think the variety is good. I think it's a good choice.
Yeah. I'm just glad, like, we got Red Terror before all One Eye came back. But yeah, like,
that's fine. I'm okay with that. He should be bigger and better and more impressive, so there's more hype if he's later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. Like, I think the Red Terror was like my favorite character out of the Tyranid arsenal, but that's just because he had it was very much like the artwork at the time was really good. The model was decent for its time. Still is to a degree, but that just be
time, honestly.
yeah.
I still have
Absolutely.
Whose arms always fall off perpetually.
that is the price of metal, isn't it?
That's his curse. I might have ended up pinning it over time, and then just not using it.
Oh, I feel that with the Yuan Daya's Demon Prince. You know, times I've had to rebuild it because I remember once I painted it when I was younger because it was like one of the first big monsters I got like as a Christmas present. Got it built, got it painted in my like streaky colours and such because, you know, I'm 11 at the time and I'm going blah 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 blah. It's a masterpiece, ta-da. And I still remember like stripping it down. I was like, I've gotten better. I'm going to paint it Night Lords. Stripped down, painted it up, kit bashed it a little with wings using the Vargeist kits. It was great, and I still remember its first game, and it was in a battle report with an old channel that's no longer anymore. And I still remember before we even started playing, we set our forces up. They're trying to get a friend's trying to get the tripod out and such, trying like where it's being a bit stiff, and the flicker thing, because it was so stiff, when they flicked it, their hand just basically sprung out of their control, and they slapped my Demon Prince right into the wall.
That's bad.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was just like.
About it now, but I
oh yeah, absolutely.
I know that feel. In the moment, it's the worst.
Yeah, like we spent no time because we were trying to start a battle report at the time. We spent no time getting it back together again. In retrospect, I was pleased it wasn't based because that would have been a nightmare. But yes, so I do feel the the price of metal, the price of the pewter. Absolutely. Like I say, yeah. Like I say, there's that. So I'm glad to see Red Terror's back. Cities of Sigmar as well. I was like, I'm waiting out because if the rumours are true about these cogforts and such, I'll probably be starting them because I know my partner wants to get started with Nighthaunt.
I think they're very cool. Those cogforts.
Yeah, yeah. I was just sat there going like, not only did they get cogforts, they also did the second unit that I really wanted them to do, which was the Knights on Foot. Because I don't mind my cavalry.
Free Guild guys, or I can't remember. Actually.
Yeah, Free Guild Cavaliers or something like that. But they finally got Knights on Foot, and it's like, now to me, Cities of Sigmar feel a whole release. Everything else is just icing on the cake. We have cannons, we have cannon on legs, we have big monster cannon thing on legs. That's fine. We have Knights on Foot, we have everything that I wanted, and we even got even more ogre things which have gates and shit, and we have guns.
I mean, I'm not super into the ogres. It's fine. I think I just might be it might be a preference thing for me and the ogre.
Yeah.
I do.
That's fair.
I do kind of poke fun at the modest female ogre. It's just like it's such a funny thing. I don't know, man. It kind of just takes me out of it.
Yeah.
I was just like, why even have it? Whatever. Let's see here. Pyro, welcome to the chat. Says, funnily enough, with 3.0, I have no idea if narrative works. It's 3.0 for Kill Team, I imagine. Yep. I played Kill Team 3rd edition for a hot minute, and then pivoted because my local play group is it pulls me. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, I think the system, the gameplay is quite fun. Right? There's a lack of customization, as you have in most GW systems. But I don't know, when I look at the premise of Kill Team, I feel like you could, and I've basically, knock on wood, I've basically sorted out my campaign system for 40k, which I'll release on the channel in the coming weeks. And then I'll probably have to readapt it for 11th. Annoying. Funny how timing works. But in any case, I am very intrigued by doing a similar thing for Kill Team, because I think you could have a Mordheim level of satisfaction with your dudes if customization was part of the system, right? But that's where the work is. Starlit Misfit, Flame Lord, Gingerbread Man, welcome to the stream. How is everyone doing today? Warp Forge and I are chilling. I think Chad is chilling too. Continuing to paint these Stormcast. I want to say Vindictors, but I don't think that's right. There's a naming convention problem like in Primaris with these guys, where I just wish they were soldiers and I gave them the war gear they had, right? They're sword guys. They wield big great swords. They're pretty cool looking models. I like painting them. They're simple in their way, but I can't remember what they're called. Because I'm painting not for rules. That's what it demonstrates, really. If you don't even know what you're painting, you're clearly painting because you like to paint them. And you know what? I'll just pretend that's like a mark of integrity.
Fair enough.
Let's layer in some lighter browns, I guess.
Yeah. I do want to get the Kill Team rulebook at some point, because I do like the idea of the joint op stuff as well. And the Nemesis dossier that's coming out as well is that's exactly what I want. I want to fight big giant monster things, or big giant monster things to basically really hamper down both opponents' plans and such. And I really like the fact that they brought back the Zort and the Amble. I want them. I've wanted those models for a while. They've brought them back. I'm getting them.
Right on. I do think you can give GW some credit here, because going out of their way to do a narrative option for Kill Team, which this seems to be, I don't know exactly if this Nemesis stuff for Kill Team is made for competitive strictly or for both, but it does feel like a joint op feels to me very like a co-op type narrative situation.
Yeah.
Or at least you have that option, and I think it's nice to do things that aren't just matched play. I want GW to do more of that.
Yeah. I want to, as I said before, I want to enjoy the experience of play. I like some of the mechanics that when I've had the odd game of Kill Team before in the past, the parrying and blocking system with the crits. That's quite nice. I like that because it gives you some form of visualization. I just want more things to do than just competitive play, because if you see the Reddit for Kill Team competitive, like, no. You look at that one, it's like, you don't want to touch Kill Team again.
I can believe it, yeah, because it's very much geared to be a competitive system, and without any narrative or needs levels of customization, it does leave me wanting in that regard, right?
Yeah, agreed.
But that's where house rules come in, right? That's where
Indeed.
and decide, we want to run this game the way that makes us happy. So
yeah,
I think once
like,
I release my 40k narrative campaign, I'll probably end up pivoting to doing something for Kill Team, like a Mordheim adaptation for it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I think there's some fun possibilities there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree.
Oh, I sorted out the guardsman problem, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so here, I'll share with you. So, initially, after our conversation, I did some research, and I was thinking, man, looking at those, the codexes you referenced, I think it was 3rd you said, or 3.5?
3rd edition, yeah.
So I looked at the older codexes, and you had these rules to customize your guard's regiment. And I thought, okay, that's a good design space, allying in other regimental, doctrines, that kind of thing. But the problem is, in 10th edition, the Imperial Guard, and I could make a whole video on this, and I probably may at some point, but the Imperial Guard, like the choice of GW to characterize Imperial Guard as all of the regiments, like when you play Imperial Guard, you're playing all of the regiments. You're not playing Talarn or you're not playing Cadia anymore, right?
Yeah.
The result of that is the design space I would like is not available, because now you'd have to take away those regiments from players to give them back, right? Whereas before, coming together of different regiments because of your commendations you've earned would feel pretty good, I think, in a narrative campaign, right? Like, you can imagine you're a company commander or whatever playing Cadia, let's say, or Krieg, and you get good commendations in a narrative campaign, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, you know what, I could use some Catachan jungle fighters. I wouldn't mind requisitioning some of those from an allied regiment for my good service. I think that would work. Sadly, you can't take it. So instead, I found a little niche. There's a little bit of design space. It's tiny, but I think it could be satisfying.
Yeah.
The ability to basically create veteran squads, because those were taken away and not given back. You have your Kasrkin, sure, right? But your standard veteran squads where you want to put more plasma guns in a unit. Limited to a squad of 10, because you don't want a 20-man unit of plasma guns, obviously, right? But that kind of thing. You want to take weapon options from your special weapons list and give those to your squads as like a little commendation. Like, oh, you know what? You're a battle-hardened veteran. You're an extra flamer for this unit. Like that sort of thing. And following in step with that, I think enabling players to add heavy weapon teams into their infantry squads is also a satisfying desire. Which is, again, another thing that was taken away. Right? So you drop 2 guys from an infantry squad and add in the heavy weapons team. We can I've called it like heavy weapons training or whatever. Because I think that feels apt. But yeah, that is the little army narrative system. The narrative system for Imperial Guard that I've decided on. So every
sounds good.
A little something to represent the things they ought to be able to do.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Right. Okay, which one sucks? He hasn't. He hasn't.
Gingerbread Man says, I have a question. Do you guys ever post your homebrews on 40k Homebrew Wiki? I personally think it'd be nice, especially since the community there is pretty good, if you ask me. No, I have not, and I'll do a little bit of self-reporting. I've never been to that wiki.
I want to. At this current stage in time, it's like I have so much that I could add to that wiki with my own Night Lords. It would be a project in of itself, and I'm already really busy with getting my army painted. It's something that I do want to do and do wish to do, but at this moment in time, it's just not feasible.
Is that,
but hopefully sometime. Yeah.
Since you seem to know more than I do, Warpforge, is that wiki for your army's lore, or is it for homebrew projects like I was talking about with like a campaign system?
It's more lore related, so it is your specific factions and such.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I sort of did an old project now on my web zone, whatthefortyk.com, where I did a little wiki for the Firekeepers. Well, it's really a blog post, but it's like the same kind of idea.
Yeah.
Just something to memorialize, or what's the word? I don't want to say canonize, but you know, so just to have it set somewhere where I'm like, oh yeah, that's how it works, you know. I need to check it for my own reminding.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I would love to like really delve deep into my lore and like make it like every saga or every chapter of my Night Lords when they're passing on the torch as like an Imperial armor book, like in terms of like lore and like the campaigns of where my Night Lords warband have risen and fell. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to put that much detail down, but I don't have the technological like expertise to actually make that happen through like Photoshop and all that.
Yeah, it's probably like easier and more worth your while to just make a video on your channel. Like I did this similar thing for High Fleet Gengar, where I'm like, you know what, there it is. This is the lore as I envision it. That's what they are, how they work. You know, you hit all the bullet points on those wikis, like doctrines, heraldry, all that stuff. And then it's kind of easier to just talk about it than, like you said, to you just show some photos of your cool conversions, because I know you got loads. And then that's your role, and then you just do a little bit of story time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like how I'm currently doing a lot of lore right now is just through short stories that I'm preparing through the Thanatos stuff, like how the Nox Mortis how the Jaeger has fallen at Thanatos and how the Midnight Man has now taken over the warband. So yes.
Yeah, I think that
absolutely.
I think you should do a video. That's what I think. A little story time video. Get some cool background music. You have a cool accent, right? I think it would be wicked.
I can do a bit of voice acting. I went to a voice acting masterclass actually last week. Because I would love to try and like actually do voice acting as something a bit more commercial, or even indeed as a full-time job. But like I say, like I've done voices for friends in the past. Like I've done a few voices for Night Lords, for Morden Glory. I've done a bit for an older channel that's no longer, for Death Guard. I can do Black Templars. I can do that Lestraman Slavic accent. Like, for example...
you have that option when it's your video to have that sort of theatrical spin. Or you can treat it like a more distilled sort of narrative, like a lore video, right? I mean, it's totally viewer's choice.
Absolutely. Like I say, I'm happy to do like voice acting work, because I can do definitely my favourites, kind of my boys at Midnight Clad. You know, Ave Dominus Nox, I have come for you, kind of thing. But I can also like gargle my voice a lot and such to make it feel like really rough Death Guard voices and such. And obviously I can do like very ordered ranges when it comes to like, say, Space Marines and like the whole Bonds of Brotherhood.
Right.
So
I think it's a matter of preference. I think for myself, I much more appeal to the more distilled. I like the lore video format, but I think there'll be an audience for the dramatic flair.
No, absolutely. It's like one of the things I want to do is audio novels over my Night Lords, for like more of like the stories and such. Something so that people can put on the background while they hobby themselves.
Yeah, I get that. It's definitely popular. People love lore videos. It's like the most popular thing for 40k, I think, or at least it was.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people outside of the game can stomach battle reports. This is my assumption, right? Maybe the 40k in 40 minutes, because it's so divorced from the actual experience of playing. But if it's like an actual battle report, it's like you have to
have
right.
It's one of those things where it's like, this is where, like, it's what many people say about battle report channels and such is they take a lot of time.
Yep.
I think the main thing, because like I really want to do loads of battle reports again. That's one of the reasons why I've spent so long not doing a lot of video content. Is because I want to get my armies to a point where it's like it is to a standard that I want to show off. A lot of it is presentation. Have you heard of a channel called Crusade House?
No, but in fairness to you, I don't listen to a lot of. I don't watch a lot of 40k channels.
That's fair. Crusade House does a lot of like narrative battle reports where it's less to do with two people interacting, more on the models, the terrain, and the actual game itself, and then narrative in between the games. He's done quite a lot, and he's like tried to like it's one of his first like narrative campaigns was Tyranids against Black Templars, and he was interweaving like audio novel with battle report. So you'd have like the story at the start, little bits in between of the battle report, and then like the epilogue at the end kind of thing. I was working with him on a Night Lords one because he was doing Night Lords versus Arbites one at the moment. I need to get back to him on that one. But he's a good channel. And like for me, it's like that's the sort of battle reports I want to do. I don't want to have like me with my camera going, well, hey, this is what I'm doing. Like I want it properly cut up and I'll narrate it kind of thing, and I'll just type, I'll make my scripts for it and all that. And that will take a massive amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the vision and direction. I want to make battle reports that'll last, that'll age like fine wine. I'm not looking for something about the most competitive hotness now and here. I'm
you want
to
it
tell
to be
stories.
A narrative battle report, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's definitely better. But I think, from what I can tell, those are less popular. I think. I don't know, actually. This is my gut intuition. Total gut check. I saw a comment here from Pyro. If I'm talking away from my mic. Let me know, Pyro, if it sounds better. I either turned up the gain or I turned it down. So you'll have to tell me.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I think with battle reports right now, it is presentation more than anything. I find it hard to stomach a 2.5 battle report, and that's like more longer than Lord of the Rings, like a Lord of the Rings film, or just about as long for two people just chatting to each other whilst I'm just watching a static, like bird's eye view overview of models sitting on circles behind L-shaped terrain. I think if one of the things that 40k in 40 minutes does really well is that because the time duration 40 minutes, they cut up things to be more rapid, so the game flows a lot faster than it actually does. Because it flows a lot faster, it keeps your attention focused, and not in the same vein like shorts do. It's actually like a little compact video, but it doesn't feel too fast nor too slow. So you feel engaged with it. When I'm just sat there watching someone who's actually just pressed the record button and just went 2.5 hours of just like moving the camera left and right, essentially, it takes you out a little bit because you're trying to enjoy something, but it's taken so long from like one specific angle.
It becomes hard to watch.
Feel as though, yeah. And I think that's one of the issues that when it comes to battle report channels, because like I've seen a ton of channels that try to replicate the Tabletop Titans experience, where it's like they'll do a live stream, we'll have it from here, and here, but it doesn't catch like Tabletop Titans do, because of whether it's more to the...
Well, I think you need to be offering something unique, right? Like, you can't just do what a bigger channel is doing and be like, oh, it'll be just as big. My channel will be just as big as theirs. I think you need to offer something unique, right?
Yeah,
I dabbled with thematic battle reports. They are just a ton of work. I think I probably had the same sensibility as you on it. And I can't remember why I stopped. I basically did them earlier in 10th edition, when I was kind of excited. Or more so excited.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just better, man. Better vibes, I think. So...
Yeah.
It's an exciting prospect, especially if you have an extended kind of lore and like saga that you can illustrate with your Night Lords. You know, especially if you're going to different events and that kind of thing, and then you have this ever evolving narrative. That can be compelling.
And I'm making the YouTube 40k Cinematic Universe here. Everyone's connected by my Night Lords. But yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I'm aiming to try, once I've got my Night Lords to a standard that I'm happy with, I'm aiming to try and get a game with Chapter Master Valrak. And next month, hopefully, I'm playing against Mordian Glory again. But I believe we may be playing 4th edition, so that could be interesting. Yeah, I'll be playing for 3.5 edition Codex with potentially the Eye of Terror. Yeah, it's going to be my first time playing with the Golden Age of Chaos Space Marines because I've never played with that Codex before. But we'll find out because I am playing to my Night Lord's abilities. I am bringing the Raptors. I think what excites me most is I can see Possessed can take winged options. And my Possessed already have wings, so I can actually play them. What you see is what you get, so I can get Flying Possessed. I'm like, fly, Mr. Koi, fly! Ha 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 ha!
Love it. It's just that level of customization from that era of rules writing. It's a completely different culture of rules writing. And it warms the heart to read. You're like, look at the amount of player expression you have here.
Exactly. I agree.
Wolfenstead, welcome to the stream. I just noticed your message there in chat. Gingerbread Man says, 40k in 40 minutes taught me how to play 40k. Really? And not their tutorial videos. Just watched battle reports till I understood how it worked, because they just played 40k with so much energy and fun. Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it, right? If you are, if you're not doing heavy editing and narration in your battle reports, with like lots of, you know, like weaving a story to make it interesting, essentially, and lots of, you know, cinematic hammer angles and that kind of thing, I think you need to be a high energy, extroverted kind of person if you're doing that style of battle report, because you have to kind of carry. I haven't been watching battle reports for a while, but I think Tabletop Tactics comes to mind. At least their older stuff. When I was watching them, you could really see like, oh, they're going out of their way to be high energy and be entertaining, so that your interest isn't lost. Because the prospect of just watching some people play Warhammer isn't the most exciting in and of itself.
Yeah.
I enjoy Winter's SEO's battle reports quite a bit. Kind of like a guilty pleasure, I suppose. And his battle reports are more old school, they're more handheld, but there is more of a focus on narrative. But sometimes, you know, rules interactions and playmaking does creep in every now and again. So it seems like a good balance in that regard. But I definitely like his narrative, his default narrative framing. I think it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Indeed. So how do you feel about the upcoming 11th edition?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, we haven't really spoken about the Adepticon stuff, really. There was so much to talk about. I am going to be very lukewarm until we see things that are substantive. Right now, it's all good energy and good feels, positive vibes. You know how the marketing guys do, right? We know all the problems. We want to address them. I'm actually working on a scripted video covering what I think the elephant in the room is of the Adepticon previews. And to me, generally, I have way less viewers on these streams than I do on my videos, so I'm happy to just spoil everything. But my core premise is this idea that GW wants to marry narrative back into the game is a hard sell for me. Very difficult. I'll believe it when I see it. You know, we've had these claims every time a new edition comes around, like, oh, we're gonna streamline the game and only make it super convenient to look up rules. And then in fast forward in 10th edition, you have like 8 types of heavy bolters and space marines. You know, like this kind of thing. We're gonna dial back the re-rolls because it's too crazy in 9th edition, and then like you see where things are in 10th edition, where detachments or armies are too weak and they get detachments that are just like, oh, your whole army just re-rolls everything. Or it's not everything. Re-rolls all hit rolls. Everything re-rolls hit rolls of 1 or something like this, right? That's not... I think that's Guard and... Newer Guard and Tyrian detachments come to mind. I think that was like just a catch-all, you know, crutch of rules writing. Just to ensure that a detachment has more potency. So, you know, I'll press X to doubt that they're going to marry narrative back in, because there are 2 or 3 key things I think need to be done, which I'm very doubtful GW will do, because there are, to me, very obvious incentives that GW has to not do those things. But, you know, I think you can probably assume, if you just go on trends, that 11th edition will course correct some things that 10th edition has problems with. And just like the trends before, 11th edition will have its own annoying problems that won't be resolved until 12th edition previews come out, because they can then fix those problems with the 12th edition. And so it goes, right? So it's hard for me to be like hyper energized about this kind of paradigm when you know that's the motion of how the ecosystem is.
Yeah. No, okay, yeah, like, for me, I am, how would you say, in the similar vein, I'm more cautious than lukewarm. That's because, like, they're saying a lot of things that I like. But when they went
that
on
happens
to, like,
with every edition, right? I felt that way in 10th and in 9th and in 8th. I like what I'm hearing, right?
Absolutely. Like, they say a lot of things I like, but when they were stating, like, the specific rules changes, I was saying one word more than anything else, and that was compromise. Like, say, like, if it was up to me, I'd have gotten rid of Stratagems a long time ago. So I was just sat there going, like, okay, you're limiting it to 1 unit kind of thing, or once per phase or whatever. Okay, that's fine. And then they were saying, like, things like, oh, you can't target units unless they start shooting. That's fine, but again, I'm compromising because I don't think that's going to turn out how they intend it to, because that's going to skew a lot more for turn 1 charges, especially that are going to make charging a little bit more flexible throwing the dice. And it's a lot of the cases of, like, it feels like lone op, because they said you can't shoot them unless you're within 15 inches of them. That's fine, okay. So when I do my 9-inch deep strikes and I'm effectively screened out of the game because you may not be changing the points as much, I need something a bit more than that. I need we either have some form of risk reward system when it comes to deep strike, or we need something that's a little bit more forgiving. Because right now there's a reason people don't really deep strike or use reserves as much, is because it is so easy to screen in the game on a smaller board when they've upped it to 10th. The terrain rules I like the idea of, but again, are we just trading circles for square grids now? You know what I mean? I'll wait and see.
It might be as simple as that, and then you put whatever terrain piece you want, and you're like, oh, we're fighting over this bunker, and it fits on the square template. Sure. I think that's probably likely. I agree with your concerns. Like, I kind of am amenable to this idea, like, oh, you can not get blasted off the board because you can be effectively lone op because you haven't shot yet, right? You effectively have lone op with a bit more severe of a worse range limitation because you haven't shot yet. I'm okay with that. It has a hallmark from Kill Team a little bit, so you can see kind of the design sensibilities influencing up from other game systems trickling over. That's fine to me. I kind of despise how it works in 10th edition right now, where, you know, you're grateful for the templates if you didn't have them in like these obscuring terrain templates. You're kind of grateful for it if you didn't have them in older editions, because you would just get blasted, dude. Just blasted off the table. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
In these older editions. So it's nice to have them, but it is very annoying in 10th edition that you have to be behind the template, or else you are able to be shot because you're within the template if you're within them. So I like that the game can feel more like, it'll just feel more cinematic, I imagine, because you'll be able to have, I'm deploying my guys in the ruins on the upper level, and I know your threat range can't shoot me turn one, and even if, you know, you could draw line of sight, the narrative would be, I haven't had my turn yet, my guys are obviously hunkered down, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's just stronger generally, but it'll all be affected by the context of the surrounding rules, of course.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I can see the intent, and I can see that it is an honest try to upright the system. But how I understood it from when I watched the Adepticon reveals is that it has a range to it, so it's like you can't target them unless you're within 15 inches.
Yep.
What if you play an Eldar, Dark Eldar, and just zoom up the board, disembark, and blast anywhere? You know what I mean?
Yeah, those factions will, like, and look, from a narrative point of view, I think that makes sense for them to do that, but then in turn be exposed and much easier to kill because they're typically more fragile. So it'll all be depending on the surrounding contextual rules. You know, if it's my one unit that can advance and charge, or do an alpha strike, advance and shoot, then that's the sacrifice I'm making, and then you deploy accordingly, I think, is what it becomes.
Yeah.
So, like, principally, I don't hate that idea.
Yeah.
It's just
like,
this idea I just found it very humorous. It's like we're gonna marry narrative back into the competitive game, because right now there's a big divide between these player bases, and then you don't really say how you're gonna do that. You just say the round objective circles that break immersion are being replaced, and now you fight over terrain, which is like, technically, I guess that does serve those ends. But those aren't the crucial points that make the game feel narrative. Because that's just theater of the mind stuff. Some people can just not use the round templates. If you're a real narrative guy, you just won't have those stupid, ugly round templates. You'll just have an objective marker that looks cool, like a box or a, gene seed, or, they've sold objective marker models in the past, and people have made their own forever. So it's
absolutely.
It just feels like they're doing a lot of talking, and I guess we have to wait and see what their solution will be.
Yeah.
But I press X to doubt. Jazzy Bass, welcome to the stream. How's it going, Sneedfest? Welcome to the stream as well. Sneedfest says, I found the Marine reveals incredibly underwhelming, and new intercessors with not even special squad weapons feels very silly. Yeah, you know what? You could tell the editors or the marketing guys for GW thought they were being so cute with the helmet reveal, right? Like, all the angles, you're gonna see like 10 different angles before we finally show you the helmet. And then when you see the helmet, you're gonna cream your jeans, right? Like, I don't know. It feels so humorous to me. It just feels funny. Like, they think they're so cute with their giving people what they want, when you've had the luxury to put helmets on your guys this whole entire time. The legs are a little bit different, but to Sneedfest's point, without adding in special weapons to the intercessors to effectively make them tactical squads, it does feel like a missed opportunity. But this is what I was saying earlier about marrying narrative in. There are certain things GW has to do, and they have incentives not to do those things, to marry narrative back in. And one of those things is war gear, right? And in both of the new box reveal minis, and look, it could be proven wrong with the rest of the box, right? So I could be wrong, is what I'm saying. But you can see the intercessor not showing off heavy weapon or special weapon in there. And the orc boy also no war gear options there either. Now you just have all the weapons, right? And I think war gear, spoilers for my video on this topic that's going to come out maybe Sunday, depending on how tomorrow goes. I think war gear is a must if you want to marry narrative back into the game.
Yeah.
Because war gear is in a fairly linear way related to player expression.
Yes. Okay, so bit of a disclaimer. When it comes to the game itself, I am always a little bit on the more cynical side. That is because my area, or I would say my region, is a little bit more focused on the competitive side to what I would describe as the detriment of player expression that you've been talking about. I love player expression, like, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it. But I still remember even my earliest memories is player expression, at least from my experience with my games, especially with pickup games, to try and like find new people to play with or new friends. Player expression often goes out the window, and it does get on my nerves. It does get on my rag because I want to express, like as you said, I would love to go. I think I said this before. I would love to go to a tournament where I'm fighting Kraken Tyranids one game, Alpha Legion in the second, and then say Blood Angels in the third game, kind of thing. And then in day 2, I'm fighting Armageddon Steel Legion. Then I'm fighting Dark Eldar of the what was it? Not the Frozen Heart. That was something mine. The Blackened Heart, whatever. A Bruisel's Vex thing. And then maybe in the last game it'll be Necrons, but it was against Necrons of the what's Trazen's dynasty called?
You get what I mean. I get what you're saying. You have your particular dynasties, or particular sub-factions, really.
When I've always listened to when Games Workshop said, "Oh, I'm going to try and improve the game," I'm sat there going like, "How are you going to improve the game for me? That when I pick the stuff I want to pick and play with, the game physically gives me room to the people who no matter who I fight against, to the people who just don't see that in the first place. They just go, what's the most meta? What's the fastest way I can get a one-turn kill?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I've always been a huge advocate for, as you said, player expression. Because I still remember because I want to have a better game balance system, is because I want to basically have a game system that doesn't make me feel forced into compromising my own enjoyment of the game for the sake of viability. Not necessarily competitivity. I don't mind if I lose a game. I always get more salty if I don't get the agency to do what I do. If I'm doing Battle Shock and I'm scaring the living bejeebus out my opponent and I lose, that's fine. I'm doing my thing. It feels, as you said, narrative. It reveals that player expression.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, it is down to gameplay and getting better as a player on the board. If my opponent's just rocking up with, say, I don't know, Craft World Order and just going, right, I'm going to table you turn 1, and then proceeds to do so because they've mathematically math-hammered out the consistency of lethality to the curve of lethality, where they just fly up with transports, drop everything down, table all the biggest things so that they can fight the least resistance in the second turn, and then I have literally nothing other than, say, a few cultists. That's the disparity I keep talking about with a lot of other people. That's what drives me up the wall when it comes to 40k. So when they say all these things about how you can use multiple attachments to play the way you want, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, yes, that's fine. How do you let me enjoy the way I want to play against other people who aren't interested in that? A good example, actually, was one of my old one of my old gaming stores that's sadly now closed, called Battle Bunker. They had one of the largest gaming stores, like they rivaled, say, Warhammer World and Element Games in Stockport, up in my area. They could get like 120 players in a place because it was just a massive warehouse that they just rented out. They had a lot of track there. And I still remember the store manager saying, right, we want 1,000 point. They were doing 2,000 point for like the full Fat 40k experience, but they were doing 1,000 point tournaments at the same time because they wanted to bring new blood into the system to basically, get more people into the store, but get more people into the community kind of thing. I still remember hovering around at one of these tournaments because I was in uni, and literally it was like a 2-minute walk to the store and back kind of thing from where I lived. And I still remember going around, and I still remember that the tournament, the store store owner was trying to put in like Highlander restrictions, or trying to put in restrictions so that you couldn't just be immediately cheesy. So it was trying to get the intent across, and this was about 8th edition. He was trying to get the intent across that this is meant to be a little bit more laid back, so that other people can enjoy games and start filtering through into the full Fat 40k tournaments. Mm-hmm. And I still remember there was a group of people walking past them saying, all right, so this is how I'm going to break the next tournament rules. That's the sort of mentality I'm there at that of my area. I don't like that personally. Now, I sound like, I'm...
That's because you have good sensibilities,
well, it's just,
I would say.
It's just like, that's why it's like I am super cynical of Games Workshop when they say, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. It's like, that's fine. How are you going to help me enjoy the game? Because I can play with friends, that's fine. But because we all live busy lives, it's once in a blue moon I actually get to play against my friends. Most of my games, if I really want to like get back into the swing of things, I have to go to pickup games and such. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to marry the two mentalities so that both players can come away with something that isn't just, oh, here's a turn one turn kill? And that's why I'm always super cynical, because my experiences have driven me to that sort of conclusion. I want to like Games Workshop's things, but when we have a mentality and all I see is people trying to cheese everything up, trying to mathematically get everything pinned down to a one-turn kill, rather than actually playing as part of the setting or part of their sub-factions or factions or whatever, that is the main important thing that Games Workshop need to marry. It's not necessarily, for me, it's not necessarily the narrative. The narrative is important, but it needs to have a fundamental disparity of balance to allow space for multiple play styles to exist.
Yeah, well, I agree with you.
That's just me.
No, I mean, it's a fair take, totally fair take, and you raise an interesting point. I don't think you can serve two masters, just as a rule of like the universe, right? I think in the example you've illustrated, those are you and that sample group represent two different desires from the product, right?
Yeah.
And you can't serve both ends at the same time, right? The competitive people want meta, right? Meaning, like what it means, like most effective tactics available, right? Yeah. And that comes at the cost of narrative choices, often, right? So, like, you can't... It's just a kind of a rule, man. You can't serve two masters. It's impossible. Yeah. You're gonna just underserve both, right? So I feel, my gut intuition, just going off of trends, right? Because we can... What's the saying? Dictate future behavior by looking at past behavior, that whole idea?
Yeah.
I think you're going to have Games Workshop still serve the competitive base, because that's what generates them the cash cow, really, right?
Yeah.
That's what has made 40k more popular. That's the content that's more popular, right? Like rules analysis, what units are good, what detachment's good, how good is the new stuff versus the current stuff. That is what's most popular.
Yeah.
And so, I think you'll just get this kind of like framing, this illusory, this like very loose kind of lip service almost, is my suspicion, around like, oh look, objectives, we don't sell objective templates that are giant dark navy blue discs.
Yeah.
Right? Now we sell objective templates that have printed terrain on them and it feels more narrative, right? I think that's probably the kind of thing to expect.
Yeah. No, I get you. I get you.
I don't
like,
think you'll have. I could be wrong, and I would love to be wrong, but I'm doubtful
Yeah.
that in 11th edition you'll be able to go to your Space Marines Codex, make your list, and say, you know what, I'm going to give my captain the Chapter Master upgrade because I want to use the Chapter Master model, which I converted. I want his war gear to be this and this and this and this because that's what I've built him to have, right? I don't think that'll happen, and I think that is what is required for a narrative gaming system.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, for me, I think because I've played a butt ton of other games, and I think for me, it's like I've played games that have served two masters, like for example the Batman Miniatures game, and there's a few skirmish games and a few I don't know if you call them mass battle, like epic scale where like 10 mil, 10, 15 mil. I've played a variety of games that seem to actually meld the two. It's not asking for perfect balance, it's asking for the disparity to exist, because I feel it goes to the deterrent at this current stage. It goes to the deterrent that is so wide that it affects their army sales. For example, look at Genestealer Cult. Genestealer Cult are meant to be all about espionage and subterfuge, but why would you play that playstyle with a lot of complex mechanics when you can just play something else that requires where you can just hyper escalate everything for like twos to hit, twos to wound, ignoring God knows what apart from feel no pain, and that's it. You know what I mean? And I think Games Workshop can do a better, or should be doing a much better job in terms of disparity, because you're never going to get perfect balance. That's not, no one's asking for perfect balance. They're just asking for the disparity between playstyles and mentalities, or the game to provide a disparity so that two players can walk away with decent faces. I know that's probably worded very poorly. It is like
what you're communicating comes across, but I would offer a devil's advocate counterpoint in that I think some competitive players, from the conversations I have in my local play space, they do actually just want balance. Like, they're very happy when all the factions are in the 45, 55, like, but the game is so good, the best it's ever been. And it's because they don't care about the narrative issues that players like you and I have, right?
Yeah.
And it's I want to say it's not a judgment thing. I'm not judging them, but I guess I am, because those are the things I value and they don't, right?
Yeah.
But it's definitely a different strokes for different folks situation. They just want different things from their hobby, right? They don't care what units they use in their... If they play Death Guard and they're a competitive Death Guard player, they don't care what units they have to use, because the player expression is not the issue. The issue is being able to compete. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think there is a demographic of players, and because of competitive play's popularity, I think it's not a small group that actually do value this idea of competitive, of balance, and wanting a balanced game, because to them a balanced game is a healthy game. It's a good system, right?
Yeah. No, I get you. Like,
they can watch tournament battle reports and events, like live events, and see their army in the top tables, and see what strategies they're doing, and it's all viable. Like, I think that feels very good to their sensibilities, if I'm gonna put on their shoes.
Yeah, I get you. I totally get you. I think it's because like I've seen or I've played better balance in other games that allows that different playstyles to happen. Because I find when I've looked into it, when people say, "Oh, the game's a whole lot balanced," it's balanced when you look at the 45 to 55 win ratios. Look at specifically what detachments they're using and what units they're using to perform the synergies and combos. Because what I've found is that when you look at the lists, it is balanced if you're playing only one specific playstyle.
Yep.
And I feel as though if you want a healthy game, all in all, not just a narrative game, a healthy game all in all, a competitive player wants the tactical challenge, not just the ability to win. They want, as you said, they want to compete, but when everyone's playing the same thing, are we now playing chess with extra steps?
Yeah.
Like I said before, like I think a healthy game would naturally evolve rather than the 3-month data slate points changes that force people into certain other units after 3 months because they nerf things on repeat. Imagine, like I say, imagine like Ian, when I played Batman, everyone used to say that like certain factions were over the top or broken, and yet it was always proven wrong. Like I did even a tournament report on the might have been it was the Las Vegas Open for the Batman miniatures game, where people were saying, "Oh right, Joker will win because Joker's the big bad and he's got the biggest model selection." It wasn't Joker; it was actually Bane. And I remember in the first ever Batman miniatures game tournament report 15 years ago, it was done at Wayne Manor in where the film Wayne Manor and Batman Begins. They specifically had it there, yeah, and everyone was saying that it was Joker or Batman who was going to win. It was Bane with what people considered at the time the most uncompetitive version, being Arkham City form, and that guy won. When I've played my own games and such at tournaments, like I'm playing like when I was playing when it was allowed, I was playing like the Wonderland crew before Freeze came out, and I was scoring some good points there. Like people say, Scarecrow is also like a weak faction, but I'm playing Scarecrow and I'm finding no issues. It's about how you play the game, not what you bring to the table.
Okay, I have a question for you, because I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
But just real quick.
Yeah.
Is Batman Miniatures game, I know it's a more skirmish-sized game, right? So you have more granularity with the rules and all that. But is it an alternating activation system, or is it like...
Yes.
Okay, yes. So this is my hypothesis, right? From what you're describing. Yeah. And I think there's an ugly truth here that competitive 40k players won't like. But when you have an alternating activation system, I think you have a much greater degree of tactics and balance in the competitive outcome of what both players are engaging in.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the ugly truth of 40k is it's not really well suited for a competitive system. Because you can just look at all these other game systems. Even Kill Team. Even Kill Team is just because it's alternating activations. You just have this better level of tactics and as opposed to strategy. Like 40k, slowly over time they've added more and more reactive things. But because the core layer of rules is a you-go-I-go system, it front loads strategy, intention, player intention, and like strategy over in the moment tactical choices, right?
Yeah.
You have not a little bit. You have more in 10th edition than you've had before with reactive moves and, stratagems to rapid ingress or something, right? I think that's like or counteroffensive or heroic intervention. Those are probably like the three big tactical stratagems in 10th edition. And the vast majority of stratagems are just stat stacking for defense or offense, typically. And when you look at time to play 40k, I think it's like, is it so bold to say that 40k, when you look at what it is compared to these other gaming systems, these skirmish systems, that 40k is just better suited for a narrative game?
Yeah.
Like, look at the effort that you must go through to make it happen, and the time it takes to play. Like, all the logistics around looking at 40k as a system, full size, 2,000 points, and these skirmish games, like, it's pretty obvious that those are better suited to competitive systems.
Yeah.
I think, to me, that's kind of like an ugly wrinkle that competitive 40k guys may not like, because I think it is a truth. It's just this you-go, I-go system of classic 40k it's so ingrained in like a beer and pretzels casual, like, oh, you're gonna do your movement phase, cool, I'm gonna go grab a drink from the front desk, you want something? It's like it's suited for that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I don't know, like, you go to enough 40k events and you see like the hustle, the amount of like hustling around, like physically. I don't mean like tricking people or anything like that, so it's not the best word, but like the rigor that's required to like undertake a tournament day of 40k. Like, you're gassed after. Like, after a one-day event, I'm completely gassed. Like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
From like the effort of playing 3 games in a day. I'm like, geez, I need to turn my brain off because I'm fried.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that's the truth.
I think, yeah. Like, I think the issue is that 40k is the biggest because at this moment in time it's the most accessible. Like, I know, like, I love my other games. I enjoy reading on other game systems like Malifaux and Shatterpoint and, say, Warlord Games Conflict 47 and all that. But Warlord are only just starting to bring out their own stores. When you think of tabletop war game and people think Warhammer because it's the most accessible, you can walk down the shop, go to a Warhammer shop, exactly. And because of that, it's going to be the biggest. When you've got the biggest war game out there, you're going to gravitate people who want to play most competitively because it is the biggest out there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I would say that I'm a bit more of a competitive player myself, but I always put the self-imposed rule when the game itself merits that competitive composure to allow you to do the things you want to do.
I agree. I mean, I think I probably align with you on this sensibility. Like, and most people, like, no one, even the fluffiest narrative players aren't going into a game looking to lose, unless it's like a historical battle where it's like, oh, I'm playing Salamanders and we're doing Battle of Isstvan or something, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, this is about me losing now because we're doing the movie, so to speak. But like, your narrative players, like, no one's going out getting their army painted hoping to lose. Everyone's competitive in that sense, right? And I agree with you. Like, when the system merits, when it feels worth your while to be competitive, when you don't feel like, oh, I'm going to be competitive because I can trust that the new Defiler won't just turn to shit after it goes out of stock. Like, if I can trust that, then maybe there's more incentive to be competitive in this game system, right? But you can't trust that because you don't know, right? And there's also this other ugly wrinkle that I think GW uses to their advantage, in that so much of rules management is dictated by the 1% top tables, right?
Yes, and I know that does happen.
There's no diffusion of interactivity of rules with subfactions or now detachments, right? So if I'm playing a unit that is being abused by a competitive player in some egregious detachment, and I'm over here in Fluff City, just having a good time, living a wholesome life with whatever unit that is being abused, I still get punished, right?
Yes.
And that's like, it's awful. That's an awful paradigm, right? And that's been the way GW's been doing rules for editions now.
The way of balance is hyper-reactionary. And I think it's solving one half of the equation. You have to react to things that could be basically busted that the competitive players are using. I understand that perspective. But at the same time, they don't look at the other side of what's being underused. A great example is, if we go back to detachments, why are people I can only speak from limited experience of armies because I've mainly played Chaos Space Marines in 10th edition.
It's fair.
But why is it that people are bringing, say, Renegade Raiders? Or why, when you look at the JCMS Mondays and such, the actual stats, why is it that the majority of players are playing to the 45% and majority of them are Renegade Raiders. And I'm not talking about like marginal differences of being most played. I mean by giant disparities, like where you have 44 players and then like 5 players playing Pac-Bound Zealots, 2 players playing Dread Talons, 0 players playing Deceptors. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't. They tell you, oh, everything's fine because it's a 45 degree, but this is what I was saying about before.
It's only
When you
one
look at the
detachment.
actuals-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
You know, I mean, is this Codex Chaos Space Marines or is this Codex Renegade Raiders?
Well, dude,
I
you're
don't
like
think
speaking to.
that gets talked about enough.
No, I love this because like you're speaking to the choir. In a sense,
Yeah.
I align with you 100% on this because this was my big issue in 10th edition. In 10th edition's pivot to moving away from sub-factions, right? Because now there's less onus on GW to serve sub-factions, right? It doesn't matter if word bearers have a shit legion trait like they did through 8th and 9th. Well, 8th and most of 9th because they were late in the cycle. It doesn't matter. Like, you know, because I would be, you know, small content creator, but valid points, I like to think on my channel. But I'd make the point like, oh, word bearers have a dog shit sub-faction rule. GW should do better by word bearers players. But in the detachment paradigm where sub-factions don't matter, and that's another issue why you need to add those back in if you want narrative to matter. But if you can just, if GW has this shield, that, oh, any Space Marine chapter can use any detachment, and if, you know, Raiders, if Renegade Raiders are the 45%, 55 win rate that, you know, Chaos Space Marine players need as a faction to perform well, then Chaos Space Marines are balanced and in a good place, right? And that's such a false framing of like the narrative health of how rules are managed. All right, maybe that's not the best way to frame it. Not narrative.
Yeah,
The health of how factions are managed or sub-factions, right? Because
Yes.
you sell people on the world and they should be rewarded for.
Yes.
Well, I made this very example, this very case, in the Iron Warriors video I did this past week, where like there's this awesome money shot of all these Iron Warriors painted super well, right? You know, the new Defilers there, the new characters there, and Mutilators, all that stuff. It's like just a nice money shot. And Warhammer GW, Warhammer Community, they're good at those, you know, snazzy photographs. But if you are someone who does that for their Iron Warriors, or in your case, with your Night Lords, I feel, personally, right, my opinion, is that GW has an ought to do right by those players who have brought their world to life in that sense, and are like, in a sense, doing this massive labor and massive cost, if we're being frank, right? This massive labor and cost to basically brand ambassador their IP, right? And they ought to serve those players with adequate rules. And it's just like never the case. And now with detachments being kind of divorced from sub-factions, for the most part, I guess Space Marines are the outlier. They have this almost like a get out of jail free card where I'm like, oh, well, now you can pretend that Chaos Space Marines are all in a healthy, good place because of this win rate. Because anyone can use any detachment technically. I'm like, lame. Super lame.
Yeah.
So that's my rant.
No, okay, yeah, absolutely.
That's my rant. This is all positive vibes, of course.
Of course.
Of course,
like,
all positive vibes.
Yeah. No, I get you, absolutely. I totally get you. Like, again, like, it's one of those things where it's like, all I want to see is a greater varieties of play styles, because I believe from a variety of play styles, you can get natural evolutions rather than forced evolutions of the game, like how they do with the 3 months bounce patches. Some things, like say, like some things need absolutely addressing, like when Eldar could, at the start of 10th edition, where they could just swap dice for dice 6 and all that. I totally understand there are things that absolutely need to be dealt with. On being the receiving end of that, yes, I totally understand. But I do feel as though, like, at their current moment, like, it does affect, it's like the way they're currently doing things still affects them at the price point in the finance, because, like I say, like, going back to say Genestealer Cult or say Abductus Mechanicus, where it's like you have half the codex being a physical release and the other half being an errata, because it just wasn't really played with that well. You just have what you have for a playstyle is just fancy weapons, the codex. But AdMech are so much more than that. There is a massive theme along them of rediscovery. Bake that into the playstyle rather than just simple canticles and that.
So, so that is one thing we could be optimistic about, and it ties into a conversation point you brought up last week when we were talking about agendas and like specific play styles and objectives. They did mention that for 11th edition, that the detachment you play will affect your victory condition in some capacity, right? Not entirely, but there'll be like secondary objectives or something to that effect is what was mentioned. So I like that in concept, but again, it all comes back to theory, right? Like if the Night Lords now have a secondary scoring metric for doing fear, battle shock based things, like that's a cool concept and I like that direction. But if it is just not well designed and it's not most effective, no one will play it and you might end up in the same paradigm.
Exactly, yes.
Where it's like, oh, well, why would I take the Night Lord's detachment if I'm being asked to do something more difficult than the Red Corsairs detachment, which is just like,
yep,
you know,
absolutely
more effective. So unfortunately, so much of that comes down to execution.
Like,
it's a great idea.
I've always said, I've always said the harder a playstyle is, the harder an army is to play, the more reward it should be when you actually execute the plan well. I still remember in 5th and probably earlier editions where when playing like more Glasshammer types of armies was seen as more rewarding, like Dark Eldar, because yes, you could absolutely get shot up out the sky, but if you positioned well, if you were able to put the scalpels per se in the right places in your opponent's army, you could equally be as devastating. Yeah, you have more hoops to jump through, you've got more things to think about as opposed to, say, the World Eaters player who just wants to go whack. But for those players who are looking for that more nuanced challenge, shouldn't there be a bigger payoff for that? And I think that's one of the things that they need to take into consideration. Like, I don't see that many AdMech players, and I don't see that many Genestealer Cult players. Obviously, your mileage may vary. But I think at some point, I think there is a big... Even the stats prove that they aren't very well or mostly played armies.
Yeah,
Games Workshop have yet to ask why. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they don't have an incentive to... I mean, well, there's a sales incentive, right? You can make them better. They could. There's an argument to be made. There's a sales incentive for them to fix it, but I don't know if their sales are hurting enough in other areas, or if they've capped, you know, and then now they'll give their attention to those factions, right? If they can continue to use a pessimistic term, like milk Space Marine or Guard players, then there's no real desire to serve those factions. And it's too bad because those are very, very great avatars of the 40k IP. Genestealer Cults and AdMech are some of the greatest. And as you said, there's probably good design space and opportunity there. I think especially so for AdMech. Like, it's crazy to me what they've done with AdMech. It's just the most obtuse way to go about characterizing that faction. The faction that's all about having good stuff and upgrading themselves to be better than the normal person has like substandard skill. It's so absurd. And then because of that, now you have this narrative dissonance because now you're more numerous on the tabletop. And if you don't feel elite, you don't feel quality. And AdMech should be a quality faction that have the option in a few units to have Horde, basically. If they lean into Horde, and on particular units, I think they should be able to have lots of numbers. But for the most part, their quality things should be quality. They shouldn't be a jobber faction.
Yes.
Yeah, Genestealer Cults is less obvious to me what to do with them. I think... You know what? I haven't really put too much thought around Genestealer cults and their issues. I don't see them much in my local play group, if I'm being honest. Very
you have to ask why is that, you know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there's a sales, there's a cost to them as well, because they are a more horde-based they are a more horde-based faction, and because of that, they're low quality, and because of that, you have to buy more. So
yes,
that is a factor. No, I don't think anyone loves the premise. Like, okay, I'm gonna choose a faction. I'm gonna choose the one that's basically telling me my guys are shit. They're low quality. They're bad. And also, I have to spend more than the people who have chosen factions which are good, that are like quality and elite and superhuman. It's just such a undesirable. You know, if you're standing at the fork in the road, and you're looking at those two paths, it's just so undesirable.
Yeah. No, I get you. Like, I think the main crux in that is the fact that horde armies can be popular. They're just not popular with coexisting Games Workshop prices. As hard as that sounds, like,
no, it's fair.
You are investing a substantial more amount than you would say your average Space Marine player, and that's because you are investing
harder time, right?
Exactly.
You're signing up for a worse tabletop experience because you have more models to manage, right? And if the game is leading towards this competitive kind of paradigm, where games are timed, it's not this like beer and pretzels. We're just hanging out, rolling some dice. If time to play is an issue, then horde armies are less preferable, right? This is why Custodes seem to be very popular with competitive players often, because they're just very convenient, right? I think Knights are similar as well for that, because it's like, I just have a few models to manage relative to other factions. Tyranids can quality up pretty easily relative to Genestealer cults, right? You can have a couple large units and then just big quality bugs, basically like tanks, kind of like Imperial Guard style, right?
No, absolutely, yeah.
But I don't believe Genestealer cults has that same level of luxury. I don't think so.
Yeah. It's like, I think, like I said, when it comes to the play style, it's about espionage and subterfuge as the primary directives, because that's what they are. They build themselves as the threat within. Similar to, but a little bit different to, say, Chaos Cults. It's like when I'm making my edition, on and off, the idea I had for them was to be hit and run by ghosting it in terrain. So they can, for example, I'm trying to like condense a lot down, but it's like they start off the board, you can choose like one specific terrain type. So if there's a lot, at the start of the game, say there's a lot of woods, you choose woods. They can, in their movement phase, they can deploy out of the woods. And then they can sort of embark and disembark from those terrain elements to give you that hit and run feeling where they're everywhere, all eyes are on you, you don't know where they're coming from. And that gives them a little bit more like, okay, yes, they are substandard quality, but they also know the planet better than you do. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that like Games Workshop need to really get back onto, because I think like from that point, sub-factions for other Genestealer cults, like the Pauper Princes and the Bladed Cog, that's when you can start seeing differences within the internal integrity of the Genestealer cults. You could even just say like, okay, this is me reading from older editions, like the Chaos Marine Codex, where it's like, okay, what about you can have certain upgrades from the AdMech book onto certain units. If you play the Bladed Cog, for example, if you play the Twisted Helix kind of thing, just find like some, like if there's some form of like creations of biomechanic or something and put that with them. Mutations and such, about forced evolution.
I think that would be the narrative solution, 100%, right? You energize their rules on the sub-faction layer because they have great characterization. Most factions, if we're being real, most factions have really strong characterization on the sub-faction level. You can see this you can see this pretty clearly in 8th edition, right?
Yes.
And you can dial that up as you need to, right? Yeah, I just think. I think that just the narrative experience is just better served fundamentally if you have sub-factions
Yeah.
in the forefront.
Like,
That's one of
like,
the
I
points
know.
I'll be making in my video, I think. I
Yeah,
think
no,
the more
absolutely.
that
Like,
we're talking about it, the more it seems irreconcilable
absolutely.
from a narrative point of view. Like, what does
Yeah.
what does it do to the game's spirit, for lack of a better term, if Space Marines are the only faction which has their sub-factions acknowledged? I think it
Yeah.
just worsens the narrative experience of the game.
Yeah.
It definitely cheapens it, at the very least.
Yeah. Because 40k is more than Space Marines, even if Games Workshop doesn't like to admit it.
Yeah, it should be, right? Now, the realities of popularity and sales and all that kind of stuff aside, I still think, from a narrative point of view, if that's something that is important, if that is an important thing, you need to treat the world the way the world should be treated. Not based on how, sales and how, war gear is limited to what's in the box and this kind of idea, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the gist of that. Yeah, there'll be lots to talk about with 11th edition as we learn more, I'm sure. Everything's kind of illusory at the moment.
Yeah. Like I say, like, I'm looking forward to trying to get in Kill Team because I want to play more, as I said, narrative moments. Like, the fact that I have a dedicated Night Lords Kill Team. Like,
Very
that
cool.
really speaks volumes for me as a player and as a fan of the 8th Legion.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a feather in your hat, for sure. Yeah. I think there's rich design space to be had on the narrative side in Kill Team.
Yeah.
Because it is a fun system. Like, it doesn't feel bad to play because there's like quick turnaround time.
Yeah.
Your guys feel cool. The creativity, you get a stronger abstraction of the finer things that 40k can't really accommodate just because of the nature of the scale, right? So it is.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. Like at the start of Kill Team 3.0, I was working on my Elder army at the time. So I was just taking the Aspect Host, the Aspect Warriors, and playing the Aspect Warrior Kill Team. And I wasn't aware that it's just like a super low tier kill team. But that didn't come across to me because of the alternate activations, right? I was still able to win, let's say, an equal.
Yeah.
I feel like I was winning more so, but I was still at parity. And that's because you have this Yugo-Igo system where you're not at the brunt of your army's inefficiencies for the entire activation of your opponent's whole army, right? You still have a move you can make before they can make another move, right? And so, from a competitive point of view, your decision making, your tactics can shore up your inefficiencies if there's a good opportunity or a cool gambit you want to make here or there in between, right? Yeah, I think that just more speaks to what we were talking about earlier with the nature of competitive systems and these skirmish games that are, for the most part, entirely alternating activations. Feels like a pretty expected thing at this point with the smaller scale games. Even StarCraft, I'm very optimistic for StarCraft. I'll cover it on the channel once I get all the other content creators, the bigger ones, have gotten their early access stuff. My channel are too small, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I'll just get it when it goes for normal release.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I am very optimistic. Everything I've been seeing on these other channels is only serving to enhance my feelings on the state of that game. I think it'll be a good time from the looks of it. Hopefully those aren't my famous last words.
Indeed.
It turns out I get it and I hate it. We'll see.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Kind of hate what I'm doing with this sword. The other one turned
Yeah.
out so much better. Yeah, I think I screwed up. I'm trying to do some gradients, like you see on
Yeah.
Grey Knight weapons. When the heavy metal team
Yeah.
has the Grey Knight weapons. I'm trying to do a similar thing, but I think I screwed up the hot spots.
Yeah.
Well, this is how we learn.
Exactly. Oh, no. That's what I meant.
How's your guy going?
The turrets are doing quite well at this moment in time. I am just getting them base coated. I'm hoping by the end of the stream or by the end of this painting session, I can get washes on them for tomorrow because I still need to pack my over 5,000 points of Night Lords. Whoopsies.
Coming down to the wire.
Oh, yes. I don't know, I think it's this year has been a lot different to how I imagined when it comes to my hobby, because January this year, January and February, I got really burnt out. And it's only been since the last month I've actually picked up a paintbrush. And I can't explain why I've received burnout, but I think it's just because I've put, if I was to make a good guess, it's because I've put myself to too high expectations of timing myself for certain things. So I wanted to get my Night Lords, Chaos Night House sorted. I wanted to get this and this sorted for events like Apocalypticon, and I don't know what it is, but it could have just been a case of I've put myself so high and I'm running on fumes kind of thing. So right now it's I've kind of put things on the last minute, but it's just one of those things where it's I feel like I couldn't couldn't avoid it either.
That's reasonable. Hobby burnout is a thing. It's more likely when you have I don't want to call it a deadline, but a ticking clock.
Yes. For me, it's
No, go ahead.
It's for me, it's I think a lot of it is the state of the game, as we've thoroughly discussed. But I think another part of it is I set myself objectives way back, say halfway through 9th edition, that I get my Night Lords painted for my channel. And every model I've painted has always been towards those goals of getting my channel back off the ground. I thought I would be finished painting my Night Lords by now. It is now the 3rd year of consecutively painting Night Lords, and I'm still not finished.
Well,
and I think that's kind
of
have
been painting though. I've seen your posts on Instagram and YouTube and stuff, all those vehicles, and so you have a large collection. Here's a consideration for you. Take it or leave it. If you, in this case, but it applies to anybody really. If you keep expanding the threshold of what your army requires, it'll never finish because there's usually always something to add, right?
Yeah.
And then if you're open to Apocalypse games, that threshold becomes even wider, right? Because now you're doing Mastodons and stuff.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I've, much to the lament of friends in my local play group, that I've not added Raveners or the meta, what's the new detachment, the tunneling networks or whatever. It's all based on Raveners and Molochs and Trigons and stuff. And everyone, I have one friend in particular who's dude, that'll solve all your problems. You just gotta run this detachment and have these it's such a good detachment. And I look at the rules, I'm it is a very good detachment. It's very good, very effective, strong rules, right? You could even make the case that my whole army would just work better in that detachment, right? If I just added, those few Trigons. But I'm I just don't want it, man. Because now I have to expand. I have to expand the borders of what my army must encompass, right? And then if, and then what happens in 11th edition if that detachment is no longer good, right?
Yes.
And then now Absolutely. It's I feel like I painted those just for a temporary purpose, and I'm back to playing the thematic list I would want to? Or what if it's even worse than that? What if in 11th edition I can't use the Raveners to shore up the problem, and now it's like exocrines. Now exocrines are the thing that you must have, and biovores, right? And it's like, okay, well now I have to add those things, right?
Yeah.
So it's a system of trade-offs, because you're either choosing to have inefficiencies with a very specific kind of army, and then if your rules are bad, the rules are bad, and it sucks to suck, right? So I get it.
Yeah.
But the alternative is like, well, now I'm forever working on this one army just so I can play it in a standard that's supposed to be competitive.
Yeah.
And I don't like that, because that's how I have such a massive Space Marines collection, and I'm like, oh my god, why did I do this? Looking back on it, I'm like, oh, it's so much. I don't want most of them, with the benefit of hindsight, right?
No, absolutely. Like, my philosophy when it comes to, like, especially when it comes to my Night Lords, is it's a collection first, not an army list. It sounds rather still mania, I get you, but it's one of the reasons why I think my issue is that my standards are too high for the level of productivity I can produce, because a lot of people don't realize it, but when like people like proper painting channels, or when proper or tabletop battle report channels like say Winter's SEO or Tabletop Tactics or even 40 minutes, that is their job. Their time when they're invested in building and painting is tied to their job. I am just a guy working a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. I have to factor that in as well.
This is what you're doing for fun, right?
Yeah, exactly. It would be nice to make it into a job at some point, but that would be a very, very long-term goal, as it's come to recently my attention. My army has a lot of painted models, and I think you're right in the sense of I need to focus on the next phase. Because as far as I'm aware, if I want to do some painting, I could do my own streams. I've got the stream layout, as you can see here. Just do it like, factor in that I mod for Mordian Glory. So, say I do it like once or twice a week from 6 till 9, and then just, raid Mordian Glory stream or what have you. I could do that, and like I said, I've already said, like, I'm going to call my stuff the Painting Pilgrimage. That's because I've been seeing all this stuff. But it gives me the chance to actually like paint other things and get my other army stuff like done, like my Deathcore Krieg and my Black Templars and all that stuff. But maybe I need to just focus on what I've got right now and the terrain, and start building that studio. Because me and my partner have agreed the next room over, next to this room, that's going to be a full game and studio for us both. So she wants to do a lot more D&D campaigns and such like that.
Fun.
I want to do like obviously the battle reports and such. So we're going to make it look like Games Workshop from the early 2000s, the dark crimson reds and proper like oak beams and such like that, like fake oak beams, but you know what I mean, like that sort of like fantasy aesthetic. And from that point forward, maybe my focus should be on getting that and getting the terrain done so we can get something out. And then, like, in terms of painting and such, yes, I can still paint, but I can also compartmentalize it in with the channel as doing, like, some things like this, like the streaming stuff. Because I am getting there slowly but surely. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not building a massive army to be competitive. I'm building a massive army so that, as you said, when the meta changes and say like, if I have to play more competitively for certain people,
you have it,
or certain players, rather than having to chase all that, at least I've got the units for that. Like the mutilators coming out, I'm not buying the units. I'm going to kit bash the hell out of them with like Penitent Engine parts and Nighthaunt parts and put them on spider legs. I'm still debating whether or not to just get STLs or use Dark Mechanicum, the walkers from Legion Imperialis for them. But the idea is just to have them on there, and then once they're there, I'm not selling them off, I'm not recycling them in that sense. They are there as a permanent part of my collection that look good, are distinct enough to give me I don't want to say a distinction, but they're distinct enough to give me an identity towards my channel that people can check out.
Yeah, I think
So I'm always gonna
That's fair.
I've accepted. I'm always gonna be the Night Lords guy. I am the Raptor Man, as it was known back in 8th edition, because I would literally go into a Games Workshop and just go, right, okay, I've just been paid. How many boxes of Raptors you got? All right, 3. I'm going to buy them, and every time, like for about 3 or 4 months, I was just like, you got Raptors? Buy buy all the Raptors off the shelf. I'm never going to get rid of. I'm never going to get away from the accusations there. But it's just a case of compartmentalizing and making sure that my expectations don't burn me out. It's one of the reasons why it's like I haven't been posting recently for the past few months on Instagram, is because I've got some models, but I'm still hoarding up a load of pictures when I finish Curse and I get the Mastodons done, so I can release them on a larger, I don't want to say on a larger scale, but on a more continuous scale. By the time I've released all of them, I'll have more models to come along to take photos of and then release them again, kind of thing. Keep on like the form of treadmill.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, when it hits, like the burnout hits, and for me, it's like when I'm just going literally from my work to straight into painting, having tea, doing some more painting, then bed. It's when you're doing that for continuously for months on end, I think it starts becoming a bit more like a ball and chain, which is like not what your hobby wants to be.
I agree.
Which is why it's like I've taken a bit more of a break. Like I've been playing a lot more Space Marine 2 and just maxing out levels and such on there,
nice.
because I just like shoot. Like I love Space Marine 2 because it is my switch off game where I just go, right, I have heavy bolt rifle, I see Tyranids, bam 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 bam. That's it. It's just like, I just like switching off, just blasting a bunch of bugs or a bunch of cultists.
Well, the game is very satisfying in that regard. I don't fault
exactly.
one bit.
Exactly. So I think it's just a case of like I am enjoying what I'm doing. I'm definitely getting these done. But it's a case of I feel like as you said before, like I'm always on the clock, even with my hobby, and I think that's what's been really burning me out. If that makes sense.
I mean, I felt similar in the past, honestly, right? Like with just. So I get you. It's a balancing act for sure, right?
Absolutely.
And then if there is a defined, I think it's important to have a defined border on what your army is. Now, like you said, if you're if you are a dedicated battle report channel and this is like a priority, then that is what it is, right? It's an ever expanding thing.
Yeah.
You're a Night Lords guy, Night Lords channel. Every time a new product comes out, you probably want to be like, what can I do with this for Night Lords, right? So then in that sense,
absolutely,
there is no... you're operating under a different kind of frame. So I was just more so offering a consideration.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying there. I want to catch up with chat for a second. I see some messages here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Wolfinstead says he has Bealtan Eldar, Man of Culture, a Horde Black Templars army, and working on a half-built Emperor's Children with Knight, and currently working on a heavy gun Tau army. Quite the variety of projects, but they all sound very fun. Wolfinstead says, I'm waiting on Gundam minigame to release. From what I see, I like the looks of it. I've been hearing some chatter about it as well. I like Gundam, but I'm not like a current fan. I've watched like Wing and Seed, ancient animes at this point. I'm sure there's much newer, trendier Gundam animes. But yeah, Gundam's neat. I don't want to spread too thin and jump onto too many new game systems at the same time. I've decided I'll try out StarCraft, and we'll see if there's any there, and if there's not, then maybe I'll look at something like Gundam. Or maybe I'll cave over to MCP and finally force it down my friends' throats, because I would like to play more Marvel Crisis Protocol. But we'll see. Let's see here. What else is there? Question Wolfinstead has, what Night Lords for as huge number to pack? I need some clarity on that. I'm not sure. I think Warpforge probably could answer. Once we
Yeah,
get a
not bad with me.
clarification.
I'll just check that comment.
Yeah.
There we go. Before I stab myself accidentally in the eyes with my
No
own
worries.
glasses.
Strider 5 says, are the Raven Guard the most bird-like chapter? Yeah, probably. There are Blood Ravens as well, that are a very popular bird-based chapter, but the Blood Ravens aren't really into flying around, which the Raven Guard are. Wolfenstead says, at 140k, bravo on your eyes, sir. You are a better man than me. I appreciate it. Takes a little bit of effort, and there's usually some horror shows along the way when painting faces. It usually does not turn out perfect the first time. It's a bit of touch and go, I find. Strider 5 says hello. I also saw that Strider 5 subscribed to the channel. Very much appreciated. And Azbek says, I build and paint what I feel like. I stopped caring about the meta when I chased it with Gravis models, and I absolutely hated it. I have shared a similar experience as well in that regard. Yeah, this guy's looking a little funny at the moment. I like to darken the eyes a little bit. Definitely an angry man. The angriest of men. Let's see what we can do to darken his eyes a little bit. Let's not water this down. And hopefully this doesn't ruin everything. That's the risk with painting faces. The smallest brush stroke can absolutely ruin
There. I think what what Wolfen said was asking us how many points am I bringing to the Apocalypticon.
Gotcha. Gotta be a lot of points, right?
In total, I've just found it. In total, through all the models that I'm bringing, it is going to be 8,390 points, which includes Titanic units. The points limit they put in was 10,000 because they realised at the last event that there was a lot of discrepancy when people were just bringing the models. So they've limited it to 10,000. So I got a lot, and most of that is packed into the Mastodons. But yes, what I meant was huge number of Night Lords to pack, as it's more than usual 2,000 points. Yes. So basically, like I said before, it is a case of I've got over 8,000 points that I need to pack. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be very, very interesting. Especially now, because like I say, once I get a little bit of money in the future, I am dedicating a bit more towards PLA printing. So I am dedicating. I've spoken with my partner about this, and my partner fully supports it because it means she gets more D&D stuff printed. A PLA printer because I do want to print out 2 Warlord Titans for myself. And I also want to grab 4 plastic falchions when they arrive. So yeah. Oh dear.
Funny how colors work, man. You mix yellow and black, you get a color that's way too green for my liking.
Yeah.
Okay, that's close, but that is closer to what I was looking for. Thinking of giving this guy some beautiful blonde hair. Like a dirty blonde hair, actually. Maybe more like a light brown, actually. But it will be beautiful. How are you for time, Warpforge? Coming up on the 2-hour mark here, so Usually,
That's fair.
it's my hobby hamstrings.
It is. Yeah, it's 11 o'clock directly here. I'm fine to keep going because I reckon I'm going to be a little bit longer on these turrets.
Oh, fair enough.
Yes.
I'll begin the wrap-up sequence and kick it for a few more minutes after
That's
the
fair.
2-hour mark. But yes, this is slowly but surely these swordsmen will be painted. I find a charm with these Age of Sigmar models in their like
Yeah.
basic simplicity. Like I kind of am charmed by this idea that it's my whole collection is just a bunch of guys with melee weapons. You know, I don't have any of the fancy
Yeah.
dragons or any of the guys that are mounted. It's all just on foot warriors. It's kind of I don't know,
Yeah,
like
no,
classy,
absolutely.
kind of classy. I get that kind of impression.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's not,
It's like
it's
one
not
of the
trying
reasons.
to be like hyper elite or hyper potent.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's one of the reasons why I'm excited to do Cities of Sigmar eventually.
Oh,
I just think it'll just be a bit of fun. Like it's just like I'm usually a vampire player. Like fantasy, I was always vampire counts. Love my undead, but considering the fact that the faction I'm playing, the Soul Black Gravenlords is shotgunned by one of my friends. I thought, okay, what else would be fun to play? And I looked at Cities of Sigmar and saw like the cannons, the cavalry, the guys. And I just thought, you know what, the guys on the ground could be quite fun to play, as opposed to previous experiences of trying to play Sylvaneth. And I just thought, yeah, okay, this could be fun. And then obviously the Cogforts came out and they finally brought down the guys with big two-handed axes and the knights on foot. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, this could actually be quite a bit of fun. I'm not playing something that could be seen as like at worst comes to worst. What I am the foot slugger. No, the cannon fodder for the other death armies I'm about to fight. But I don't mind that as much because I don't have as much of an attachment to my guys. Like as long as I can paint them turquoise, or at least the robes and such turquoise, I'll be happy.
I'm into it. There's a real allure to me for Cities of Sigmar, and I think it's because it sounds crazy, it sounds weird. I think it's all the wooden stuff. It's just such a material I never see in 40k. This like
Yeah,
wooden, structures and struts on buildings and on shields. You see it, and I'm like, man, it sounds so weird to talk about like wooden materials with such enthusiasm. But I can't help but look at it and be like, wow, that's nice to see. Just like a wooden shield, you know?
Yeah.
I was
No,
very
absolutely.
tempted by the Cities of Sigmar when they were first coming out. For that reason, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
they just have such a novelty about them. I don't dislike this at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sylvaneth too, so I get what you're saying. There's a very cool faction in there.
I love my tree people. I love when they made the Kernel Hunters, I was like, I want my list to be March of the Ents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, it's very cool. Super cool.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm sure Cities of Sigmar will be refreshing for me, considering the fact that I play like a lot of hyper elite armies all the time. It might just be refreshing just to play something that is just like your bog standard average Joe. And when your friend Gaza dies, he gets more morally inspired to try and fight harder or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yep. They're humble. They're humble in their way.
Yeah.
The Imperial Guard
indeed.
should feel that way, but I have issues with how they're characterized on the tabletop. I think.
That's fair.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the same applies in Cities of Sigmar. Maybe. But yeah, I would prefer the Mortal Men factions to feel. Not that you can't win with them, but I think their vibe. Should be the contrasting element to other factions.
Yeah.
In the way we were talking about GSC
Yes.
earlier, where it's like you're kind of signing up to be bad, like a low skill
Yeah.
army, in terms of like the skill of the soldier, right?
Yeah.
They're contrasting these wild and wacky, undead guys or elves or chaos warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Okay, I'm going to paint this trumpet. And I'm going to call the string. That's the last thing I'll paint.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's very important to paint your trumpets.
Indeed.
Wolf instead says, "Sorry, my dyslexia. No need to apologize for that. What I went the huge number of Nightlords to ask to pack as more than normal 2,000 points. Right, yeah, I think Warforge answered your question there. What's my view on the huge walking tower? Well, I kind of like the huge walking tower. It is a model that requires you to give up your suspension of belief, because it is like so fantastical. It's almost too fantastical for ordinary men. I think you can make a good case about that. I had a Grimdark Therapy podcast earlier today with Outer Circle and Northern Exile, and we kind of touched on that issue. That being said, I still like the giant walking tower. I just think it looks so awesome. It might be something that would be better suited to like orcs and 40k, this kind of weird contraption kind of thing, or Skaven. I seem to have a lot of this kind of like contraptions, mechanical contraptions in their characterization, right? So it's not the most human looking thing, in my opinion, because it looks pretty wild, right? Pretty crazy, but it is cool. So I do like the concept. I like the concept enough to kind of look past that. I guess the trumpet should be gold, eh? Like gotta have some visual interest, right? Some contrast for this unique piece. Yeah. Make it gold. We'll make it gold. I think that's the right choice. Should I just darken these a little bit? Some watered down black. I find the weird thing about painting hair is it's so contingent on the readability of your highlights. And if you're painting black hair, you don't have color to lean on as a crutch. And if you don't do your highlights correctly, it looks like the person has gray hair instead of, hair that's catching the light.
Yeah.
So it's a little, it's kind of like face painting. It's touch and go. But I think like when you nail the highlight on painting hair, I just think it looks tremendous. Like it, because you never see it, especially in like 40k. Everyone's helmets by default, like 90% of the time. And I get it because they look cooler, and it makes more sense from that point of view too, right? Fighting a war, you gotta wear your helmet. But if you're leaning into them, then you could paint that hair in a way that looks like decent. I think it just adds this like novelty. The same way wood adds novelty. I would suggest. I think this is 2 gold. I'm gonna mix down that gold a bit with some silver. Definitely prefer my golds to be a bit less saturated and more toned down. I just think Retributor armor right out of the pot is a little abrasive.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. It's like so
Yeah.
cartoonishly yellow. Obviously, this is like all based on contrast with the rest of your scheme, right? So, if that's not to say that this is a rule, but I think in this particular army's color scheme, I've painted a couple of those winged guys that came in the box set for 4th edition Age of Sigmar, and I painted them gold to look like the angels in Diablo. And I guess that's their default color, because that's how the jelly paints them anyways. But I found the gold looks pretty good next to this dark armor.
Yeah.
You are a gold trim Night Lords guy, right? Not a silver trim Night Lords guy? Or
Sorry?
a brass trim Night Lords guy?
Brass, bronze. I used to use Balthasar Gold. Now I use this Steampunk Copper from Tooth and Courts. I wash it down with blue so it cools it down, and the reason why I do that is because it's a deeper color. I used to use gold. I used to use gold and then do a brown wash over it to make it aged and such. But I remember posting a few pictures around a few servers, and they were all going, "Oh, it's not Night Lords; they're too bright." And I'm like, "Have you seen the 2nd edition artwork of the Terminator with its gold trims?" But yeah, so I usually use bronze and then cool it down further, because it makes the armor pop a lot more, because there's less confliction or less competition for the attention of your eyes between the trims of the Chaos Marine and the actual blue armor itself.
Right. Dude, that sounds... Look, I consider myself to be kind of like a hobby snob in a way, but that sounds so egregious. You posted something online and everyone's like, "That's not painted like Night Lords enough. Night Lords need to be like this." That's crazy.
Yeah, it was. It was just like, all right,
So
okay.
abrasive.
But yeah, no, absolutely. It was years ago, like this, when I was starting really painting towards 7th, 8th edition times.
It's a bridge too far for myself, honestly.
Yeah.
It's, like if someone wants to paint their Night Lords super bright, or if they want to paint their White Scars a bit darker, like I'm not...
Yeah.
It's a preference thing, right? I mean...
Oh, yeah.
It's
like,
different
I
if you were
just paint
asking,
them how
if you were asking, is this too dark, or is
Yeah.
this too bright? But if you're just... I'm imagining the scenario. You're like a humble guy, sharing your, "Hey, community, what do you think of this?" Right? And then you get poo-pooed like that. That's gross a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm glad it
I'd say,
didn't
like-
discourage you.
Oh, no, absolutely didn't. Not when it comes to my Night Lords. I've had similar experiences online, which is why I always say take the online with like a pinch of salt with whatever you read in here. It's one of the reasons why I was put off Mordheim, because I looked at Mordheim's rules and I was like, this looks absolutely amazing. This is like what I want in a skirmish game for fantasy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I chose, and I was like, all right, you've got even sub factions for like vampire counts and all that. I'm like, well, I really like knights, vampires in knight armor, like proper like vampire knights. So blood dragons were a thing. So I picked them. I was like, right, what else can I do? At the time, I was like, I like the whole Celtic folk horror aesthetic of wood elves, because you read their lore and see it gets proper dark sometimes. Especially old world lore for the wood elves I was like, right, I like these as like a bit of a counterpart where it's like, okay, they are super agile instead. And I remember just saying something on like on a forum, just saying like I'm looking for the next steps or what models to get here and there, such and all that. And I remember there was a few people who basically said, "Oh, well, you're just a meta player. You're just looking for the most cheesy things." I'm like, no, I'm playing them because I like the aesthetics of these armies and I enjoy the lore of them. And after that, I was like, yeah, okay, I haven't invested in Mordheim enough. I can just bow out, really.
Interesting. This is
I would love to
online
come
or
back
this
to
was
Mordheim.
in person?
Online.
Gotcha.
Usually it's Facebook that usually makes these comments, which is why I don't go often on Facebook anymore.
Interesting.
I find like a lot of the lot of like the online spiel you get is usually due to X or Facebook, so I try and don't pay attention to them. The primary place I pay attention to is my Discord servers on Discord.
Yep. Yeah, I get that. I'm not really on. I mean, I'm not on Facebook, and I don't have X. I see posts on like. I hear what comes through it because it's kind of like a news source, but I usually get it through like other YouTube videos or whatever else. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think this is the. Okay, I'll wait for this parchment to dry, and then I'll wash it, and then I'm done. There's a trend here that's happening. There's always like another thing. Always like one more step. But I feel like, if you might as well, if you're putting the base coats on the parchment, you might as well give it a wash before wrapping up.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, so let's see. How's a squad looking? No, I really should have written down my basing scheme for this army because I based some of them and I really like how they looked, and I'm like, how did I do that? How did I do that? I'm gonna check all the armor against the leader.
Yeah.
What's the poll say? Now, 71% yes, 4 kill team. Good foundation for narrative campaigns. Yep, I think I will dabble. I think that'll be something I dabble in. Perhaps. You gonna be able to finish in time for Apocalypticon?
Get them better than I have done previously, yes, but totally finished, probably not. But painted to a standard where it is battle ready kind of thing. So you can look at it and you can see that the effort's been put into it.
Yep, that's
but
what
in
counts.
terms of like, yeah, it's not. But in terms of like the snazzy extras, like the airbrush work for like lightning marks and such, definitely not at this point.
Yeah, you gotta pick and choose, right? Draw the line.
Indeed. What will probably happen, yeah, because I've got next Monday off. What'll probably happen if something doesn't come up is I'll probably go back to painting them and finishing them then, and then just like doing the airbrush work then. So I'll take pictures and then be like, ta-da! More stuff done.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh dear, what am I looking for? I'm looking for bullets. Because I think I've done all the bullets here. Yeah.
Alrighty, well, I'm probably going to wrap up this stream. background music ended too, funnily enough. Well, anyone who's made to the end, you guys are the real hobby heroes. Thanks for joining in on this hobby hang stream and sharing in the hobby camaraderie. Warpforge, thank you for joining as well. And
no worries.
anyone who's tuning in can find Warpforge's YouTube channel link in the description. But with that, I'll toss up the Wall of Honor. Yeah, thanks to, patrons and members, obviously, beloved patrons and members. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.